Hello, John.
Hello, Oliver. Yes, hello, Oliver. Just think I took a read that. Yeah, hello,
Yeah.
Oliver.
So we're going to talk about Mr. Garvey, who got freedom of the city, I think, in 1997. I think he said. Do you want to go ahead there and talk about him?
Yeah, and the Drogheda. Now the Drogheda freedom of Drogheda, which is something that it's not bad, I suppose, to get the freedom of where you might have served honourably.
Hmm.
And the Christian Brothers, he was a Christian brother, a brother Edmund Garvey, and he was a superior, and he got the freedom in 1997. This is now 2008, 11 years afterwards, and he's still alive. Now, with the name Garvey, I did business with Garvey's wholesalers. I'm not saying that he was a relative of theirs, but it's a coincidence that that was his name because they were a lovely family. There was about four brothers in it, and it was the big wholesalers in Drogheda and had other ones in other places. And they supplied the VG shops, which were independent stores, but they had a franchise called VG, and they were very good. And they were able to compete then because they brought from Garvey's, and Musgraves and Cork did the same for the VG down there. And they were big, so they become much bigger subsequently. And that's another day's work, but we'll talk about now, 2008. Garvey's were still going strong. Well, of course, I was out of the business then, but when I'm going back to when I would have been at it in 97. Well, I would have been doing it after a third, and Garvey was gone then at that stage. Were they? Anyway, suffice to say, I think they were. But with the name Garvey, he could have been a relative of that lovely family and employed a good lot of people in Drogheda and in Drogheda and wherever they were. Now, so he was granted the freedom as a Christian brother of Superior in 1997, and he would have done good work because the Christian Brothers did great work for those that wouldn't get an education otherwise, because there wasn't enough qualified people in the secular world as there is now with these community colleges. But when we got our freedom in this country, most of the people were damn near illiterate because of the fact that the British were here, and you know what they were up to. They educated themselves all right, but they had something against Catholics. So Catholics had suffered for centuries, and then when they did get the education, they wouldn't get anything about Irish history. You get me drift, and
Hmm.
that kind of thing, or the Irish culture. It was all about our British rubbish. Who was interested in that? I don't know even if they're interested themselves, the ordinary Joe Soaps of that country. But certainly we're not remotely interested in it. So the Christian Brothers did great work, and so did the Presentation Brothers and the Sisters of Mercy, and all these that give education. The Sisters of Mercy give it to the girls. They all got good jobs in civil service. We don't hear about that, do we?
Yeah.
Well, John Malone, the Christian TV Ireland, will be singing that hymn sheet and giving them praise what praise is due, long overdue. We won't wind about the secular crowd, but this business of Drogheda. Now, what happened, do you think, in 2008? Uh, I'll tell you what happened. A crowd of ones that hate the Catholic faith made out that they were abused. They were silent for 11 years, but they must have thought the time was ripe. And so they objected. And it turned out there was a couple of weirdos in Drogheda Corporation. And Brother Edmund Garvey, that gave such great sterling service to the education of people in Drogheda, uh, it was removed by 5-4 in the Drogheda Council, Urban Council, I presume it was. 5-4.
John, I just want to ask
The
you,
truth,
were the allegations proven, the sexual allegations?
not at all, he wasn't guilty of anything, but because he was a Christian brother, the whole lot of them was condemned by these other ones. They have an agenda, you see, and nobody agreed with them as to know where and how it happened. It's very peculiar because I was educated by Presentation Brothers and priests in a boarding school and Presentation Brothers in the latter end, and they were a gift. And I never come across anybody in my time that had that experience. It seemed to occur later on somewhere along the line, and it's very difficult to understand how it would, because the facts are not as proven as much as they were. Or yeah, there's something people can make allegations now, and there might be no truth in it, but it's a hobby horse that they can get away with, and they're taken serious. And even if there's no truth in it, because they've been made allegations against priests and others and nuns. When it was examined and so on and so forth, there was no background of truth in it whatsoever. Do you
Yeah.
see? But the powers that be at that time started believing nothing. And so the person that was accused of was often had to step down. And the harm was done then by the time they were proved innocent because there was no truth in the allegation. So when people make allegations, this has to be properly investigated to see where it happened. And the person that got the freedom, it wasn't him, but it was just the religion. So do you see where the basis of this attack on the Catholic faith is coming from? It's coming from that, and now it's morphed into what the government is adopting policies that's quite evil. The Conqueror knows that. That seemed to be a factor in some of the speeches. I'll say no more because I have to be doing videos about that. But this question of Drogheda, Drogheda has gone down the tubes with a lot of violence in that city. And when you do things like what they did there to that brother, it doesn't bode well for a town. Drogheda's gone down. It's a dangerous place. There's been a lot of violence in it with gangs and so on and so forth, murders.
The thing about it, John, is look, because of policies by our government, okay, going back to the 1990s, every town in Ireland is not much different to Drogheda. Now, Drogheda is different. I've worked in Drogheda. I worked in Drogheda about 30 years ago, and I can tell you that it was a dreadful place. Okay, and there was a very high suicide rate in Drogheda at one point. I'm not sure what it's like now, but back then there was, right, and it was a very very bleak place. But I have been there recently, and I have seen improvements in the town quite a lot. So hopefully things are getting better. But
Yeah, well,
drugs
well,
and
well,
violence
well,
is a scourge in every town in Ireland. It's terrible.
well, correct and right. It's gone a scored. So if you turn your back on the Catholic faith and the trust in God and that, what replaces it? It's what replaces it is not good. And the people that have done that, the secular agenda, there's no joy or peace or anything in that agenda, and
Mm.
it's quite destructive of the family and the human race. This is where, believe it or not, another factor to come out: the elites are calling all these shots, even cause wars. You'd be surprised at what actually is going on behind the scenes, that you know nothing that we surmise, because there's definitely something there. When we see in Ireland, there was a Catholic country, the island of saints and scholars, and in my time, 98%, 98.5% were Catholics in this jurisdiction and practiced their Catholic faith. But with the agenda that has been orchestrated relentlessly, it's now gone that it's like you think of the past, you think it happened maybe in the last century being the 1900s to the year 2000. And they were expecting all the computers to fail because going into New Year, and it didn't happen, did it? Quite
Hmm.
it did not happen. So they often cry doom and gloom at the secular crowd, and then it doesn't happen. And they attack what's good and make it out to be bad, and make out bad to be good. So this event that happened in Drogheda with the denial of the freedom of the city to this um, peaceful brother that did such great work in that town, and this is the thanks he got that the freedom was taken from him. So this is the what has happened, and look at the towns and villages now. Oliver Goldsmith, the poet, said about the deserted village. And a lot of deserted towns and villages down the country, and services have been withdrawn, banks and post offices, and leaving them adrift. And the Christian TV Ireland will be fighting for all these things to be restored and respect given back to those towns and dignity. This in Drogheda is a symptom of what the secular crowd does. No respect.
Thank you very much, John.
Right. Okay, thanks, Oliver.